We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we're talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Ooh.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot, what's hip, what's happening, what's shaking on your Wednesday, which is of course hump day. We here at the Tom Gulley Show as always hope you are receiving the full, total, and complete amount of hump that you so desperately crave and you so rightfully deserve. This is a very, very special night. We've got people filing in already. Terry Nee says he can't wait. Neither can I. If I were to tell you that one single actress had appeared in the television shows, for example, Breaking Bad, hold on here, let me get my audio straightened out. Thank you, StreamYard. If I were to tell you that a single actress had been in the shows Breaking Bad, Mad Men, Game of Thrones, Sopranos, The Wire, Sons of Anarchy, House, Dexter, Twin Peaks, Band of Brothers, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Big Bang Theory, you'd tell me, Tom, you're a fool. You're crazy. No single actress could appear in each and every one of the most popular television shows for decades. That could never happen. And I would tell you that I am not crazy because it has happened. Ruta Lee, in fact, appeared in all the great programs in episodic television for decades. And that's why I believe she is the greatest actress in the history of episodic television in the classic age or any other age. She did not just appear in these programs. She transformed even the most popular programs with her superlative acting ability and tremendous range from westerns to crime dramas to situation comedy. Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Wagon Train, Mannix, 77 Sunset Strip, The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Roseanne, Gomer Pyle, and oh, so many, many more. Name a popular show of the day, and she was probably on it and making it memorable. Thankfully for all of us, she is still performing. In fact, just a little over a week ago, she thrilled audiences in 4 sold-out shows at the El Portal Theater in North Hollywood. And on her birthday, May 30th, which is, of course, the day all people of note were born, she will celebrate again by performing on the El Portal Theater stage. And by the way, there's a link to get tickets in the description of this program, and now you can see a reminder at the bottom of the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 7 known wonders of the world. You are about to meet the 8th, the amazing Ruta Lee. Ruta,
Mr. Gulley.
Yes.
Will you please marry me?
Right now. Right now, I'm here in Dallas.
I am so thrilled by this magnificent introduction. My God, I sound wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you
Well,
for the amazing compliment.
don't
And
think
thank you for inviting me to join you and your viewers. What a pleasure. Thank you, dear Tom.
Well, don't thank me. You did all the work. And as they say on a program, you were on just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Uh, the
Yeah,
facts
you
alone.
name a show, I think I was on it. Uh, it was a grand time in television. It was a great experience. I did a lot of growing up on it. My first movie, big major motion picture movie, was of course Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which has gone on to become a classic. And then the one that followed it that was so great was Witness for the Prosecution. But the real knowledge that I got, and how to behave and how to come prepared and know my lines and not trip over the furniture, was thanks to television. It was a great experience. It was on the job experience, which was just wonderful.
Well, you were born in Montreal, and you know all this. You were there. You were born in Montreal to very proud Lithuanian parents and moved to LA, went to Hollywood High and LA City College, I believe UCLA. At what point in this grand journey did you realize, you know what, performing, that's for me?
Oh, darling, I think I recognized it when I came out of my mother's womb. It just, right from the beginning, I was always a little bit different. My kindergarten teacher, I owe my whole career to, because she said to my mother, Mary, your daughter is a little different from the children that come into my kindergarten classes. She's just a little more on and more aware and loves the stage. And so I guess I knew right from the beginning. And God bless this teacher. Because of her, my mother did indeed save her money and buy me, dancing lessons and music lessons and all kinds of stuff. And I, as you said, was born in Montreal, Canada. Now, clearly, the next step up for a wannabe would have been New York and Broadway. But my mother, being a lovely peasant lady, and my father, the same thing, from Lithuania, didn't know from theater. They never thought about theater other than the church plays that I was in or the church choir that I sang in. But she did see Shirley Temple. And she used to sit and watch the movies and see Shirley Temple, and she'd say, "Oh, my daughter can do that." And so when they wanted to get out of Montreal because of the snows up to here all winter long, and my father was thinking Hollywood, but he was thinking Hollywood, Florida. My mother was thinking Hollywood, California, which is where we moved. And so I owe my career to Mrs. Jackson, my kindergarten teacher, and my adorable mother, who didn't worry about wasting money on me with music lessons or dancing lessons.
Well, now you have a story you've told before, and I'm going to try not to ask you questions you haven't been asked 1,000 times, but it's a story of the best revenge is success, and it involves a scurrilous accusation of theft.
Oh, yes, I laugh now. I didn't laugh then. I, as you said, went to Hollywood High, and during the summers, I would go get a job if I could in a movie theater. And in those days, Tom, I hope your audience is old enough to remember, there used to be ushers and usherettes in theaters that stood at the top of the aisle with their flashlight and saw you to your seats wherever they may be. And so I got a job at Grauman's Chinese Theater. Wow, the garden spot of moviedom. And there I stood at the top of the aisle in my little red tunic and the black pants and my flashlight, watching the wonderful ladies, Betty Grable and June Haver and Mitzi Gaynor, all of whom eventually became my good friends, which I'm happy to say. And I was very happy doing this because I could watch my movie queens doing their thing, and I would pray at the top of the aisle, oh, dear God, please, please let me have this chance. Let me do this someday. Well, I got promoted to Candy Girl. Now, I have always been lousy in math, terribly bad in math. And I could deal with the candy department because everything was 10 cents, 15 cents, 25 cents, all in those increments that I could deal with. So I did fine. And then I would scoot over when I wasn't selling popcorn or something and stand at the top of the aisle and watch my movie queens. Then one day, the cashier in the box office got sick, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And I got promoted to box office. And I said to the manager, I can't do this because tickets are at odd numbers, you know, $1.98 or $3.25 or whatever the case may be. I'm just no good in math. I can't do it. He said, don't worry. All you do is punch in 2 tickets at $1.98. And if they give you $5 or $10, you put it in and you put it in and it'll give you the right change. Well, clearly the machine didn't understand this. Mm-hmm. And we were $40 short. And I got fired. And I said, I told you I couldn't do that. I didn't steal the money. I just don't know how to do this. And I gave away too much change, whatever. Well, I cried my way out. It didn't do me any good. But a few years later, where did I get my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? That fabulous salute to our industry. I got it right in front of the box office. Ta-da! Is that angels, guardian angels working in my behalf? Serendipity at its best.
Yes,
to think that I can now go blah, 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 blah. And look who my stars that spoke for me were the wonderful Alex Trebek and my dearest friend Debbie Reynolds. Oh, what a day that was! What a perfect day. And to think that I could go back and say to the manager, I wonder if he's still alive. Look, I'm older than dirt, so he's got to be gone. I was just a kid in those days.
Yes. Well, I have been extremely entertained over the last several days by going on a very deep dive into Ruta Lee. Now, I'm good friends with Ed Robertson, who you may know, and he and I share the same sickness. We just love classic television, and I tell him all the time the best ever was Ruta Lee. I mean, I've got Barbara Rush and then Louise Latham, but you're way out in front. And I actually delved into some things that I'd never seen before, one of which was a program, and I hope you can tell me about this, called The Whirly Birds.
Oh my goodness. That was the first time that I was ever in a helicopter.
Oh, really?
And I was amazed that they don't have doors on some of the helicopters. I guess the centrifugal force is supposed to keep you in your seat if you're too much of an idiot and lean out. But it was exciting to be up on Mulholland Drive where so much movie shooting takes place and be landing and taking off in a helicopter was pretty wonderful. I had forgotten about it until you brought it up, Mr. Gulley. Thank you.
Well, and an early performance by James Coburn in that particular episode.
Oh, no wonder I always loved him. You see, I've forgotten about that. Oh,
well, good.
So many wonderful people played in so many of the shows. And I stop and think about anything that has a science fiction background. I loved. That was always my favorite. And so anything that worked for television that way was wonderful for me.
Well, we might get to some of that in a second. Now, a few of your performances, not just recently, but over the years, have absolutely floored me. First, I'd like to ask you about is an episode of Bonanza called A Woman Lost, which begins with you hurling a full whiskey bottle at a wall. Why you did not receive an Emmy for this performance, I will never understand. But what are your recollections, perhaps, of that episode and working on Bonanza in general?
Thank you so much for talking about it deserved an Emmy. Had I been smart enough and wise enough, I would have invested in PR, public relations, and sought some sort of recognition for that role, because indeed it was a lovely role to play. And I'm so grateful to the producers at Paramount where we shot Bonanza. Of course, working with Lauren Green was a pleasure because he is a fellow Canadian-born actor, and always great fun. Of course, all the guys were wonderful fun. But it was a great show for me, and my director was good. Everybody was wonderful, and it was a great opportunity for me. Thank you for saying that. That was a great blessing that you just gave me, my dear Tom.
Well, don't thank me. Again, you did the work, and really, for the time, a very dramatic portrayal of someone who was an alcoholic. And I'm a sucker for a show where the big, kind-hearted Palooka gets the girl, and Lauren Green's last words, "Welcome back, Rita. Welcome." I mean, I got a little misty-eyed. I'm 6'5". I'm 6'5", and I was just taken aback by that. Another performance of yours is on my very favorite episode of The Fugitive, and it was a two-parter, and it was called Angels Travel on Lonely Roads, which, of course, you were with David Jansen. Also, Eileen Heckert, who would later go on to win an Academy Award, plus one of my top male episodic stars of all time, the great Albert Salmi. And can you tell me what it was like, perhaps working on that episode, but also working with Albert Salmi?
Albert Salmi turned out not just to be a co-star on a television show with me, but he also became a neighbor of mine in Palm Springs.
Okay.
Right around the corner. So we used to borrow cups of gin from each other, that kind of thing happened. He was a great guy and a wonderful actor, and did some unusual and rather bizarre roles that he did beautifully. Of course, speaking of wonderful actors, Eileen Heckert has always been very, very special. And it was such fun to work with her. I remember that, David Jansen was also in my organization. Debbie Reynolds and I headed up an organization called the Thalians, which I'd like to talk about as we go along. And David was one of our original members in that organization. We sort of had an all-star assemblage of wonderful people that came to our events and supported us, and we were Hollywood for mental health. And I sort of feel like I wish that Eileen had been part of our organization. She's such a part of so many lives because she's just such a good actress and she can play anything.
Well, we will get to the Thalians. It's here on my list. It's one of the things that makes you even more remarkable as a person. You were obviously great in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, my mother's favorite musical. Witness for the Prosecution, as you mentioned. Funny Face, Operation Eichmann, where you were frankly brilliant in that, and many others. But you mentioned science fiction. And I would like to ask you about something of a cult film these days, which was shot in 1967, not finished until 1972. And that, of course, is Doomsday Machine, which the plot was fascinating. It was really, I was thoroughly enjoyed by that film, although it did seem like the end was kind of just,
the end got put on by the Japanese who wound up buying the film. Now, I have to tell you, I salute the producers, but obviously they were doing it on this much of a budget. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there was no money there whatsoever. Oh boy, the lights are coming in hard. Anyway, we used to sit in our dressing rooms in makeup and not allowed by Screen Actors Guild to go on until that day's money was in. So that was part of the laughter that took us all into the business, that, you know, for the day. And when you stop and think that they had some really good actors in it, Bobby Van, who of course is one of the great dancers
Oh,
of all
yes.
time, was
Yes.
in it. And that lovely lady that was nominated for Academy Award for I'll think of her name in a minute.
The Mala Powers?
Mala Powers,
Yes.
of course. Just brilliant, wonderful people. And there we sat waiting to go on. Now, the sets were designed by, I think, a 12-year-old, because you know what our chairs going into space were?
They were
They
lazy
were
boy.
barber chairs.
Yeah,
that
they
I
were
think
just-
borrowed from the shop next door. I'm not quite sure. But it was, unfortunately, the plot started to be good. It never quite got finished. A Japanese company bought it out, and I have no idea. I'd love to see it now. Can you still get your hands on it somewhere, John?
It's on YouTube for free.
Is it really? Okay, I'll find it on YouTube.
Many places. A lot of people have it available. I believe it's Denny Miller and
Denny Miller, who
Henry
was
Wil-
the Gorton's fisherman.
Yes.
Remember his big commercials?
Yes. And I think, was it Keir Delay was in it? And Wilcoxon.
Henry Wilcox.
Henry Wilcoxon. Yeah.
He was, of course, a huge star in the 30s
Mm-hmm.
and into the 40s. And as I recall, he at one time was married to the big producer. Names go in and out of my head. Who did all the biblical epics. His daughter. And he was a lovely, lovely man. He would take me to dinner every once in a while. And he belonged to the guild that had the screenings of the movies. And so he'd invite me to go and see the movies. And he was a lovely, lovely gentleman.
Well, not only a brilliant actress, but you had mentioned the Thalians. You're also quite a humanitarian. And a great example of this is how you were able to secure freedom for your grandmother from behind the Iron Curtain, something that was thought to be impossible, and frankly was at the time. How on earth how did you do this?
It was impossible. I had tried for 12 years to get my grandmother out of Siberia, where she and my grandfather had been deported. And we're not talking intelligentsia here. We're not talking about artists or creative people or writers or teachers or whatever, religious persons. Talking about little farm people that milked a cow to make a living,
Mm-hmm.
And they got deported to Siberia. Why? Because nobody could really answer that, other than we thought they were trying to repatriate all those countries, the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, with Russians.
Right.
So that to knock out the national spirit that each of these countries had. And I was the first to become a citizen of these blessed United States when I was 16. So I started making out what we called vizovs, when through the Red Cross, my mother was able to find my grandmother in Siberia. And a vizov was an invitation in Lithuanian, in Russian, and in English. And basically it was the usual BS that you had to give them. Dear grandmama, you're getting very old. You don't want to be a burden on the state and on society. I will assume full responsibility of bringing you to the United States, to California, where the climate is better for your health. This had to be done in those 3 languages, and these 3 letters, had to be stamped with a notary seal. The notary seal had to be approved by the city seal. The city seal then had to be approved by the state seal. The state seal had to be approved by the State Department seal. So these 3 sheets of paper are now this thick.
Mm-hmm.
And you send it over, and the Russian authorities are very impressed with all the seals and the ribbons on them. And they say, "Niet, nein, forget it."
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months later, I have to start all over again because the papers expired.
Wow.
And I did that for 12 years. And finally, we got notice from my grandmother, who had been allowed to return to Lithuania with some members of the family that she found in Siberia. And she, excuse me, I will get rid of this call.
That's quite
Call
all
you
right.
back. And I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
And the letter basically was written by a cousin, because she never went to school. She never learned to read or write, my grandmother, that is.
Right.
And she was saying, "Thank you for the things we sent." Little Lithuanian ladies wanted, a black skirt and a white blouse and a white apron and a babushka to tie on, a scarf to tie on their heads to be buried in. And she had been told that she was going to die, to go home and prepare to die. And it took 6 weeks or more for a letter to get to us from Lithuania at the time. That's the Soviet system.
Right.
And so I didn't know if she was alive or dead. And I was so upset to think that my one remaining grandparent maybe was already dead and I would never get to meet her. So I went out with friends that night. The more wine they poured, the more evident it became that I should do something quite dramatic. And I did. At a time that I figured would work for the Soviet Union, I picked up the phone and I said, and we made person-to-person calls.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you remember that, but
I
it used
do.
to be that they were far more expensive, but you didn't pay for the call unless you got your party. And I said, I want to talk to Nikita Khrushchev, the Kremlin, Moscow, USSR. And that rotten, excuse me for saying bitch, operator said, "How do you spell Khrushchev?" Well, who the hell knew how to spell Khrushchev? Anyway, this went on for hours. In the meantime, I tried calling the Russian embassy in Washington. And I spoke with the gardener, and I spoke with the person that washed the windows, and I spoke with the upstairs maid. Niet, 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 niet. Finally, the operator from Moscow, after about 15 attempts, gets back to me and says, "Mr. Khrushchev, no speak it English. You speak it with the interpreter." Ah, I remembered this was a very attractive young man that traveled with Khrushchev when he was banging his shoe on the podium, saying rather unattractive things that my father understood because he was fluent in Russian. And so I said, yes, I'll speak with him. He made everything palatable for our Victorian ears. And so I spoke with him and he said, what can I do for you? And I said, I explained about my grandmother and that I wanted not only to come to the Soviet Union, but I wanted to bring my mother and father as well, because they hadn't been there or seen their family in 35 years. And, he said, well, why don't I talk to my congressman? And I really got very distressed. And I was beginning to sober up. And I said, what in hell does my congressman have to do with my traveling in your country? This is not a matter of politics. This is a matter of the heart. She could be dead for all I know. So then I'll go to her grave. So he said, present yourself again in 30 minutes to the Russian embassy in Washington. And I thought, oh, hell, I'm being bounced around again. This time I called back and I was immediately connected to the first secretary. And the first secretary was Lithuanian.
Oh, boy.
Long story, a little shorter. 48 hours later, I was on a plane with my parents on Pan Am going to Moscow via France and then to Lithuania. And I got permission when I was there to come back 6 months later. We found my mother and my grandmother had been miraculously moved by a big fancy ambulance from where she was in northern Lithuania to Kaunas, which is the second biggest city in Lithuania. And the doctors said in 6 months she would be able to travel. And that's when I brought her back to the United States. And here's the part, Tom, that means so much to me, that touches my heart, that I'm brought to tears every time I think about it. That little lady, when we got off the plane in Los Angeles, we didn't have jetways then. This was in 64.
Mm-hmm.
We climbed down the stairs to the tarmac. My little grandmother dropped to her knees, kissed the ground she was walking on, and said, "Hello, America." And thank you, God, for getting me here. Now, it just reminds me how blessed we Americans truly are and how we take so much for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And it sometimes takes seeing how other people have to live and have been forced to live to know how blessed we are.
Well, what a tremendous story, and perseverance and love of family. That is,
And a glass of wine.
and lots of wine. Yes, all stories, all great stories begin with lots of wine. You worked in television at a time when production schedules were way heavier than today. Series, some of them were 34, 35 episodes per season, not just 10 or 22 or whatever it might be.
And some of that time, Tom, we worked 6 days a week.
Well, and
The 5-day week came along later. I can't remember when.
18, 20-hour days sometimes as well.
Oh, yes, easily.
And what was it like being so in demand at that time? Now, were you busy in advance, or did the phone just constantly ring from one project to another?
Well, fortunately, I would do probably at least 2 shows a month. That sounds like not very much, but each show took, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, depending. And so you couldn't, get everything in. But it was wonderful fun. And of course, I had great respect for the casting directors in those days. Nowadays, casting directors on most television shows have not really earned their credentials. I say that and I'll probably never work again. But it's true. Each casting director in those days knew what little theaters in town were using talent to show people what they could do. They were familiar with who was seen in what movie and where and when. And each producer or director would be hit with from the casting director, do you want a blonde, a brunette, or a redhead? And then they would cast that way because they trusted the casting people. They knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I owe a great deal to those guys. So whenever the phone rang or a script would arrive at the door saying, do you want to do it? They always gave you the choice of, do you want to play the part? And I always learned from the people in England, the wonderful actors. So Laurence Olivier said, there are no small parts, there are just small actors. And I agreed with that. And I sort of did almost everything that was ever offered. So it gave me a wide variety of things to play. And each studio and casting director had their version of what I did. In some of them, I was the hooker with the heart of gold and the teeth to match. In others, I was a sweet young thing. In others, I was a society girl. It was great fun to do all those parts. And come in with a new characterization all the time. So I'm very grateful to the lovely people that turned the television set on because I was going to be on, or came to a theater to see me, or went to a movie to see me. Mwah. Thank you. And that's where my book title came from, by the way, Tom.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that right at the
Yeah.
end because I'm going to be using that in my own professional career quite heavily. We've got a lot of people commenting. Metal Maiden Vicky, who hosts a radio show on one of our partner streaming networks, says, I'm not crying, you're crying. Wow, what a story. Good for you, Ruta. One of my oldest friends in the world, I've known him 45 years from college, says, great to have you on the show, Ruta Lee. Love your work on and off screen. There's really too many comments here. They're just pouring in. Just a tremendous amount of love and support for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am most appreciative.
Oh, I did a whole hour and a half on Sunday and went into granular detail in your career. So all these people, they know everything about Ruta Lee. Yes, we couldn't possibly cover it in the time we have today.
Well, I see that you're the one that I have to call when I say, was I in that and what did I play?
Well, you may call me anytime. I'm at your disposal.
Thank you, Tom.
And I understand you used to live here in Dallas, Fort Worth. So if you're ever in town,
Well, I still have a home in Fort Worth. My beautiful house in Dallas was bought by some gentleman in the plastics business. Oh, gosh, I love that. In Greenway Parks. And it was,
Oh, okay.
I love Texas. Now, I have a very big emotional tie to Texas.
Yeah, I
Not
know.
only did I play Casa Mañana for 45 years or whatever it is, but I just think that the best people in the world are in Texas. And I don't mean to minimize people from Nebraska or Ames, Iowa, or wherever it may be, but there's just something so truly hospitable and Americana-ish about Texans. There is a warmth and a national love that emanates from the hearts and souls of Texans, and they truly love not just their Texas flag, but the American flag.
Yes, I native Hoosier, but when I got here, I said, this is where I'm staying. This is a place for me. Tim Jenkinson, who actually is from England, says, back when actors had real talent. Terry Nee, who's a very frequent viewer, says, thank you for this. Is there a role that you turned down or just missed out on that you thought, oh, gosh, if I'd only done that?
Very rarely have I ever turned anything down. I've missed out on things that I didn't get. I would have loved to have played Ginger in Gilligan's Island, but my boobs are very small and Ginger's were very big. And I think that's why she got the role. She's a very pretty lady, too.
Yes, and I believe is living in New York and reads
Yes.
to school children every day. If I
Oh,
read the
really? I didn't know that. That's
Well,
nice to hear.
weekly, perhaps, maybe. Yes, she does that. She
Oh,
does
there
that.
goes my phone again. Call you right back or call me back in an hour.
Let's see here. The game show circuit. I only have a few questions left here. The game show circuit. You were big on that. I have a photo. Whoops, that's the wrong photo.
Oh, there's Alex Trebek, speaking of game
Yes.
show circuit.
Yes.
Oh, he turned out to be one of my best friends. This
They-
was some of the happiest time in my life, regularing on Hollywood Squares, as you can see there.
And look at that lineup. Charlie Weaver, Rose Marie, George Goebel, John Davidson, Kent McCord, Sandy Duncan. There's Peter Marshall, of course, Vincent Price. And
Vincent Price was truly one of the loveliest gentlemen I've ever known.
and a fabulous chef. Wrote
Yes,
cookbooks.
I have his cookbook. In fact, Frank Sinatra gave it to me as one of my Christmas presents. He honored his work so much. Well, Vinnie Price was just so fabulous.
Yes, yes. Now, you were also on Match Game. Brett Summers has remarked, I have the box set of Match Game. I have a sickness. I have a lot of box sets. And she remarks in the sort of the extras that you guys shot 5 shows a day, which was common for game shows, and that sometimes a little imbibing took place at
Oh, yes.
lunchtime, and that was the reason that the Thursday and Friday shows were
Were the best.
so crazy. Yes.
Yes, there was certainly a little wine poured at dinner, and we usually did 3 shows, but they were such fun to do, whatever game you were playing. And of course, they liked certain people out of our industry because they were quick on the game and quick on the tongue on the game,
Right.
and that was energy was appreciated very much. I owe a lot to the game and talk shows because my friends, you see, I don't have fans, I have friends, got to know me personally that way. They got to know Ruta and not some character that I was playing. Not that I didn't love playing those characters, but it was very nice to have people know me and like me as a person. And so all I can do is say, thank God that I had the great opportunity of doing a lot of game shows and a lot of talk shows. From Johnny Carson on, I used to say, people watch me through their toes at night. I did that a lot, but it was just great fun.
I have 3 questions left because
Yes, sir.
I want to be respectful of your time. Tim Jenkinson says, did you ask her about the joint birthday party idea? You and I share a birthday. May 30th.
Oh, May 30th. Yes,
Yes.
of course. Well, and May 31st is Clint Eastwood's birthday.
Yes, I think it's Bob Hope's birthday as well.
I've forgotten that.
Coach Mike Riddick says she's still one of the most beautiful people in the world.
Oh,
I can't really keep up with all of these comments, but to please tell us about, the thing you were going to tell us earlier, which is this. Right, whoops, Daisy, right here at the stage. There we go.
Oh, my book cover.
Yes.
And I'm always asked about consider your ass kissed. And there are some places in the country where they blot out the ass. I mean, I don't know why. If Jesus could ride into Jerusalem on an ass, I think I can do the same. But consider your ass kissed is a phrase that I have used constantly because I have been in charitable works ever since I can remember. And whether people give me $5 or $50 or $5,000 or $50,000, what can I do but say, consider your ass kissed for doing it? Because it's not only a blessing to the people that have mental health problems, but it's an asset to us who give as well. And so George Pinocchio, who is the red carpet man for ABC television, does all the awards and everything, said to me, Ruta, he's like one of my kids, if you ever get this book you're writing on finished, that should be the title of it. And I seriously considered what he talked about. And that's how it became the title of my book. And I mean it sincerely to all of your viewers and listeners. Thank you. Consider your ass kissed for loving Mr. Gulley.
Well, I'm never going to live that down. Let's see here. 1 down, 2 to go. Please tell us about your upcoming show at the El Portal Theater in North Hollywood on May 30th, which is, of course, your birthday, the day all great people were born. And there is a link to getting tickets in the description of this show on YouTube
thank
for
you.
everybody
That's lovely.
watching. So, yes.
Well, I figured the best way to face my 90th birthday was to work through the damn thing. And so I'm doing a wonderful benefit at the El Portal, by the way.
Sorry.
That's perfectly all right, which happens to be the Debbie Reynolds main stage that I'm working on. They have an itty bitty theater and then the big theater. And Debbie Reynolds used to go to the El Portal every Saturday because she lived in Burbank, and this is where it is, and she'd go to the movies there. Well, of course, she left me alone, but I figure she'll be smiling down on all of us. And my beautiful friends, Joanne Worley and Jillian and Bruce Valanche, are all going to be participating in this wonderful event that is called Consider Your Ass Kissed in the theater there. And I'm hoping that everybody who has nothing to do in this area or fly in, what the heck, come to the theater, call the El Portal, or go online here and look it up. But we're going to be at the El Portal, and May 30th, 8 o'clock, the full show with a little wonderful reception with a wee bit of wine afterwards, too, to celebrate my 90th. So y'all are invited.
Well,
you above all, Mr. Gulley.
Well, thank you. I will be there if I can. I was born on Memorial Day in Indianapolis, so they have a race there every
They sure
year.
do.
That I have obligations every year.
For 500, yes, you got it.
Do some broadcasting, but Pepe Sylvia is just giving 5 stars. The last question that I have, and then I'd like you to talk about the Thalians, and then we'll get you back to your regularly scheduled life currently in progress. When they make the Ruta Lee story into a major Hollywood motion picture, which we both know they will, and if they don't, well, I'm going to have words for them. Who would you like to play you? You can't say yourself, that would be cheating. And it doesn't have to be anybody from right now. It could be anyone in the history of Hollywood. Who would play Ruta Lee?
Wow.
If anyone even
It would have to
can.
be somebody fairly young to cover all the early part.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, our best American actress would be called on. Gosh. This is terrible.
I know, it's a stumper.
This is just terrible. Can I call you back next year with an answer?
You can. You are more than welcome to do that.
That is so difficult because there's so many wonderful actresses, but somebody that will go from beginning to old lady at the end, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like I am 90, and of course we can always age an actress,
Right.
but it's hard to make them look very young again.
Sure. I'm going to say...
Who would you say?
Well, the name is... she was in Hunger Games and won an Academy Award. Jennifer, I can't remember now. It doesn't matter. Neither one of us can answer it. That's okay. We'll pass.
And you're not anywhere near 90. How come you're so
I'm
behind on all of this?
a lot closer than you might think. Terry Nee says 90 and sexy.
Oh, thank you.
And Victor says 90 happy more. You look better than my Aunt Myrtle. There we go. And if you could just close by telling us about this wonderful organization that you helped found, and we're the there we go, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, she is wonderful.
Yes, she might be able to play
Okay,
Ruta Lee.
all right.
She's kind of
I just might consider that.
she's
But
down to
yeah.
earth, kind of a spitfire.
Let's face it, I won't get the choice. I will be able to give an opinion, but I won't be making the choice. It will be who will sell the tickets and who will do it. And that's the way it works.
As long as they pay you for the rights to the
You
book.
got it, darling. You
Yes.
got it. But as to the Thalians, was a group founded by a group of young actors who got tired of being called hard drinking, pot smoking idiots that had nothing to contribute to society. And they said, you know, we hang around the piano and sing and we have a cocktail or two. Why don't we put something together, sell tickets, and raise money for a worthwhile cause? And so they did. And out of the group, they sent Jane Mansfield and, oh dear, I keep doing a blank on her name, the other, and both girls with very large bazooms. out to find a good charity. And they came back to the next meeting and said, all the good diseases have been taken. And they met a man who was dealing with emotionally disturbed children. So we took on the cause. He described a child with mental problems as a rotting apple in a barrel. It'll rot the whole barrel if it's not taken care of. And so we took that on, and then we were the first building to go in at the Cedars-Sinai complex at the Thalians Community Mental Health Center. So we were Hollywood for mental health. And in some cases, we needed a little bit of treatment for mental health. But we raised millions of dollars for mental health. And then somebody came along and said, you people are missing the boat. After like 50 years had gone by. Said, you are not concentrating on people that really need your help, and that's our returning veterans. The wonderful young people that we put in harm's way in every hellhole of the world that are willing to die for America, and yet they fall through the cracks often when it comes to mental health when they return. So we switched our focus to the mental health of the men and women that we bring home from whatever war we've had them in. And I'm very proud of what we're doing. So we joined up with UCLA and it's Operation Mend. Operation Mend heals the broken and fractured bodies of our returning veterans, while we Thalians hopefully heal the broken and fractured mind and spirit of these gorgeous young people. And I'm very proud of what we're doing. And so the benefit that I'm doing, of course, on May 30th will be for the Thalians. And tickets will be $90, which is my birthday, $1 a year. And it all goes to a very good cause. And I hope y'all will get your fannies into those seats and come join us, and we'll have a glass of wine together. And please, nobody sing that rotten happy birthday song. I hate it. Hopefully somebody is writing a new one while we speak.
Well, I hope you get another birthday for every birthday.
Thank you, darling. I do too.
And Doc says, to the lady who defined classy, Terry Nee is glad that I've gotten that mental health help all these years. Some of my viewers like to make fun of me. It has been a rare and treasured privilege to get to meet you and to speak with you. And I wish you all the best of success, continued success. If ever you need anything from us here on the program, all you need do is ask. And thank you so much for being here.
I thank you for giving me the lovely birthday gift of being able to share some of my palaver with your viewers. God bless you all. Thank you so much, Tom. Mwah.
Thank you. That is the great Ruta Lee. You guys know how absolutely schoolboy, just, I can't believe she is every bit as incredible in person as she seems like she would be. That does not happen very often. You just don't meet people that are as genuine and caring and just supremely talented. I encourage you all to just go onto your Roku TV, just type in Ruta Lee, whatever shows up, watch it. I didn't get into Run Sheep Run on Mannix. I didn't get into every role. Just an exquisite actress, and I'm very, very privileged to have had her on the program tonight. I guess I can go through some of your comments here, and Miss Lee can get back to her. I'm sure she's busy and got a million things to do, but some of you were very effusive in your praise, so let's just put it online and see what happens. I guess I can go ahead and open the phone lines if people want to call in, and we'll do all of that stuff. Let me see here. Was that where they showed the Bruce Lee movies? Let's see. Great Hollywood star picture from Metal Maiden Vicky. Let's see. The usual from the coach. Chef says, hello, Ruta Lee. Thank you for your wonderful work. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention quite as much as I normally do to the chat, but I was on the, oh, wow. You guys you really don't know. I mean, I am such a freak for, old radio, old TV, and to meet somebody that I have just admired for so many years. It's, hopefully I did y'all justice. Bobby Van is one of my favorite movies, the 1973 film Lost Horizon, also with the adorable Michael York and many other great actors. Well, Bobby Van's one of my favorite people because he got to marry Elaine Joyce. And good Lord, Doc called me sharp dressed. Well, how about that? Thank you all for your donations too. I think that was really nice. Yeah, and you guys were really great in your praise and appreciation. So let's see here. Victor says he was a Mary Ann guy. Terry Nee says, Ms. Lee was so much a part of my life through the tube. I wish I had had a chance to put that up there because it's the truth. When I was younger, and certainly you guys know I watch all these old shows over and over and over again, and of course was quoted extensively in the Ed Robinson tome, The FBI. I just have always thought she's the gold standard. She makes the show better, even if it's a great show. Let's see here. She worked with Donald O'Connor. Yes, it would be interesting. Now, see, here's the problem. We really only had her. She went over a little bit. Her publicity people said, look, don't, keep in mind she's a very busy person, all that stuff. So she did go a little longer with us, and we could do a week of shows just on the people she's worked with. I'm not even joking. It's so. I didn't even get a chance to ask her about Man with a Camera with Charles Bronson. She was on that show. That's the only show Charles Bronson was on where he had a starring role. I could go on and on and on and on and on. We really literally could do a week's worth of shows. A week's worth of shows. We do have an incoming call. Someone's memorized the phone number because it's not up right now. So let's see who this is. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Hi, welcome to the Tom Gulley Show. You are on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Tom, how's it going? First time, long time.
First time, long time. You got a name for me there, Captain.
Yeah, remember Spency McCool? Remember your best buddy?
Yeah, I do.
You fucking cocksucking motherfucker.
Oh, you're just not a very nice person. That's terrible. That's awful. That's just a person that doesn't have anything better to do. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe the Thalians can help that person out. Let's see here. What else have we got? We've got, we better put the phone call banner up. Do get tickets to that show, though, if you have a chance. Do get you some tickets to that show if you have a chance. There we go. There we go. All right. Let's see. What else? I got to find that quote. Get back to where I was. Interesting. Family. It's from Far, Texas. I did not know that. I did not know that. Victor says, I also think first as well as emergency responders. That's true. Tim Jenkins says, a great interview, Tom. Thank you. Middleman Vicky. Pepe's. We're getting praise here. Well, that doesn't happen very often. Middleman Vicky says, I can only hope to be as cool, beautiful, and wonderful as Ruta when I'm her age. Terry Nee says, so much better than Let Me Tell You About Lint. Never going to live the Lint show down. Although, You guys aren't going to believe this. I actually got emails on the Lynch Show saying, thank you for letting me know that that is a great idea for kindling. Here's to me. Mountain Dew Zero, the drink of champions. Let's see here. Pepe Silla says, hey, great interview. Thank you. The Wolf says, I am glad she took up the veterans cause, having dealt with the VA and Naval Hospital. And Metalman V says, don't even worry about your comments when you have a great guest such as Ruta. Elaine Joyce, or Joyce, they always confuse me. It didn't confuse me. Doopadoo said Ruta Lee was one of the actresses on my TiVo wish list searches. She's just so good. Do we get the point for Ruta Lee donations? You know what? I'm in a great mood today. Let's go ahead. Everybody who donated, let's see. There you go. There you are, right there. Right there. You all getting the point. You're getting the point. Ruta Lee gets the point as well. I hope it's Doc calling. It was not Doc. Knew a gal, kind of sweet on her. She was a risk taker, worked with their SAR, get injured on a wildfire burning longer. She was next to me. Yeesh, Victor. Wow. Yeah, Tim Jenkins said, what an idiot. Well, that's their thrill. So, you know, they got to have their thrill. Articulate fella. He's jealous you got a good interview. Well, he's probably a fan of some of those shows that don't really, you know. Pepe, I disagree with what he said. Thank you, Pepe Sylvia. Thank you. Doc says, I know I can't follow a classic like her. Let's see. I don't know if his mother taught him anything, Tyler Schellenberger. Metalman Vicky says, wow, there's always some jerk. Way to disrespect. But see, that's their stock and trade. You know, polite society, they don't, you know, they're not going to last too long. Hey, Funky Bronco says, I'm from Nacogdoches, Texas. It's pronounced Nacho-doches. I think it's Nacogdoches. And that's where the man from Nacogdoches, Clint Dempsey, is from. You should switch from Mountain Dew to wine. Then you can live until you're 90. I don't think anybody's looking for me to live till I'm 90. Doc says, this has been the better show than when you did the vampire fish. Terry says, I'm going to binge on her work over Easter. I got to tell you, you gotta watch this episode of Bonanza called A Woman Lost. She's so good in it. And then if you're a Twilight Zone fan, and if you want to see Ruta Lee, who normally plays, you know, not an evil gold digger, she plays on an episode of the Twilight Zone called A Small Drink from a Certain Fountain with, I think, Patrick O'Brien. And she plays the most just money-hungry gold digger of all time. Now, you have to balance that against the fact that even though she's great at playing the role and you don't really care for her that much, she's playing a gold digger, so she looks really good. So there you go. You're still trying to get that Elvis Costello song out of your head. Oh, yeah, by the way, the phone lines are open right now. In case you didn't know, Victor says, well, been online since the mid-90s. Trolls, I just let them bounce off. Yeah, that's their thing. That's what they do. Maybe they'll find a way to make money on it. I don't know. It's a bridge, not a way, as my dad would say. It's a bridge, not a way. I just got to talk to Ruta Lee. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm just, you know, I'm just unusually happy with myself at the moment. And perhaps in the future we will also get some through the bounty of Ed Robertson, who I've got to contact again. We need to have Ed on the show again. But I think we're going to step up our interviews a little bit round yonder. So I need to put a little more pedal to the metal on seeing. I doubt we can get Robert Klein. I doubt we can get him, but I'm going to give it a shot. Terry Nee says, you outdid yourself, boomer. Well, I was about to ask her when she was saying how much older. I was about to go, guess how old I am? Guess how old I am? But see, that could either have been yes, or it could have been, oh, wow. Gee, I guess I better lay off the mashed potatoes. Tim Jenkinson said, it would be great to see more interviews. You're really good at it. Well, that's what I used to be known for. Back in the day, if you go to the TomGulleyShow.com, there's tons of interviews there. And I'm frozen right now. Thanks, StreamYard, for freezing me. Why am I frozen? StreamYard, why did you freeze me? That's not a particularly good way to be frozen. Tom's on clouds 9-25. Yes, there's several of the clouds. Should I remove myself? I'll add myself back. No, okay, now I'm fine again. Now I'm me again. Wow. Thanks, StreamYard. Frozen in time. Considered, submitted for your approval. A man. Frozen in time. I don't know what tomorrow's show is going to be about. We've been kind of entertainment focused this week. I really don't want to go super all entertainment. And if yes, Tyler Schuldenberger, they're not helping. They're supposed to be helping, but they're not helping. If somebody told me, hey, Tom, we want you to just do entertainment stuff all the time, I would do it. But I kind of like doing some of these other topics and keeping it really crazy, wacky, all over the board. So really, somebody's got a thing. I'm looking down over my list of stuff here. And 72 without your glasses. Victor says, please say hello. My Hell Attack friend Sherry from Hell's Canyon. Hello, Sherry from Hell's Canyon. It is good to see you. Funky Bronco says, my dad drank alcohol. Well, Funky, it does tend to be, he didn't give me good advice. Well, but you can get good advice now, and today is the first day for the rest of your life, is the way I look at it. Some people gave me some really good suggestions. Where were they? Because we do need a show tomorrow, but I've been focusing so much on this week. Hyperborea, Anunnaki. I could look up and see what those actually mean and do a show on. Let's see. Well, Tim Jenkinson, as you get older, more and more people that it just happens. It just happens, man. It's just the way it goes. Just the way it goes. Here's some pictures of Ruta Lee I did not show. Look at that. Look at that. Victor said he had to refresh. Well, don't we all sometimes? You can do an Alex Jones parody for that show. Oh, God, that'd be great. The lizard people, they've been seen around Austin. There's another picture of Ruta Lee, the great Ruta Lee. Tyler Schollenbill says, where's Wild Bill been? I don't know. I don't know where he's spending his time these days. No idea. Let's see. I got to find a really good topic for tomorrow. And all I have is entertainment stuff. I got a million comedians to do. Kelsey Grammer. William Smith, Wolf, is coming up real soon. I might do that one next week, excuse me. Already did that one. Oh, man. I've just got so many entertainment ones, don't you know? So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I could do one on tanks. Tanks are interesting. If you wanted one on tanks. They've been around a long time, tanks. You know what? Tomorrow night might be onion rings. What do you think, guys? Onion rings? I looked into onion rings. There's not much information on them. They got 8s and H's. The conspiracy stuff seemed popular. It was funny seeing your reaction to it. Okay, tomorrow I will do... Well, let me look this up right now. Let me see what that is. Group of Sumerian gods in ancient Mesopotamia believed to have shaped the destiny of humanity and created humans. I don't believe in that. Let's see, what was the other one? Hyperborea. Okay, Borea. There we go. These are all just legends. I don't want a legend. I want a good old-fashioned... Oh, wait. Whoops. How about we do one tomorrow on the chupacabra? How about the chupacabra? Do you know what that is, you guys? You know what the chupacabra is? I could do one on the chupacabra. If you want, I'll do one on the chupacabra. You guys know what the chupacabra is? Now that's a conspiracy. Well, it's not conspiracy theory. Show on shoe odor. Hey, there's Johnny Seattle. This is Tom. Sterling Holloway, OSS, actor Staler, with a really, he was the voice of Winnie the Pooh, I think. Oh, no, you're talking about Sterling Hayden, John Naylor. You're talking about Sterling Hayden, and he was maybe OSS, but he was precursor to the Navy SEALs, which was called the Marine Unit or the something unit. But yes, Sterling Hayden is an amazing story. I need to write that down. And it's an entertainment story, though. You know. So there we go. There we go. Victor says, aces and eights, not a good hand in poker. It's the dead man's hand. Show on the history of jocksprats. Already did it. Do you want me to do Building 7? Let me see if there's enough there, and I'll do Building 7 tomorrow, because that is a real conspiracy theory. That's a huge conspiracy theory. Building 7. This is architecture facade. Well, I don't think there's anything about the conspiracy here. Let me see here. Let me see if I put conspiracy in it. Oh, man. I don't know. That doesn't look like an easy one. I need an easy one. Dehumidifiers. You guys, sounds like a drink. Chupacabra. Window frost. Terry Nee. Will says he loves onion rings. I am so hungry right now. History of Metal with co-host Metal Maiden Vicky. I'll do that show in a heartbeat. I will interview Metal Maiden Vicky and let her walk us through the history of metal, even though I know nothing about it. Sterling Hayden. I'll be thinking about it. Ginger from Gilligan's Island, still around. Yes, Tina Louise, still around. Metal Maiden Vicky is laughing at Doc. John Nicholson could be an interesting guy to cover. It was a terrible horror film twice. Building 7 is just physics. I agree. I agree. An episode of Grimm that dealt with the Chupacabra. Iron Maiden talk. What's a good conspiracy theory? Oh, we could go the USS Liberty. Now that is a conspiracy theory because everybody was asking for that when I did Liberty ships. Let's see here. Ongoing controversy and unresolved questions. Why don't we do the USS Liberty incident? If that's sexy enough for you guys, I don't know. That looks really detailed and eesh. I could do another assassination. I could do the assassination of attempt on Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I could do that. I really could do that. That's actually that stuff happened with that one. He didn't get shot, but somebody sitting right next to him got shot. Yeah. So we could do that, I suppose. I don't know. I got no idea. I'll think of something. Suffice it to say, I have so much entertainment stuff backed up. Let me see if I can find it this way. Let me just see here. Okay, attempted assassination of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Okay. Do you guys hear that? Bunch of kids screaming and yelling outside the front yard. I could do that one. I could do that one. Yep. Let me get to your comments. Show The Twilight Zone. I have it written down. That's another entertainment one. Tim Jenkinson says, yes, he has an interesting story and a religion started around him that he wasn't happy about. I don't know who you're talking about. Well, let me see if I can figure it out. Oh, John Nicholson. I got you. If you like the UDT precursor to SEAL, also check out William Hopper, Paul Drake Perry Mason. Yes, there's a really good book by a guy I used to interview all the time named Patrick K. O'Donnell. It's called First SEALs. And it actually covers, it was called the Maritime Unit, I think. And it was the precursor to the actual Navy SEALs and the beginnings of that. And it's an outstanding book. Let's see here. If you go to the TomGulleyShow.com, you can actually hear me talking to the author of that book. That's a lot of pressure. You promised a Peter North episode. Yeah, I don't think that's coming anytime soon. Hopper, son of Hedda Hopper. Isn't there a conspiracy theory that Titanic being switched out last minute for another ship and the owner canceling being aboard last minute as an insurance fraud scam? There is, but, Little Maiden Vicky with a very funny line. Damn kids. How about the invisibility experiments the Navy did in the 40s? You mean the Philadelphia experiment? Have you ever done shows on poets or authors like Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, etc.? I don't know that we've done one on Poe. It's on my list. Might have. I don't think so, though. I get mixed up because I've done so many shows on the podcast about stuff like that. So any old way, phone lines are still open at 972-994-6822. And that is the number to call in. Otherwise, I'm going to close it. I'd like to learn about professional. Hey, Pepe Sylvia, I could do pro wrestling tomorrow. I could really do pro wrestling tomorrow. Julian Caesar says, great show. Thanks. Thank you, Julian. I appreciate that. I saw Mary Shelley's grave. I want to do something. I'll tell you what. Why don't tomorrow I do the attempted assassination of Franklin Delano Roosevelt? And then on Friday, I will do pro wrestling. Or would you guys like it switched? I could switch it. Doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I'm all about what you're about here in the post-show time slot. All about what you're about. However you see fit. Thank you, Pepe Sylvia, for your great inspired confidence on me. Yeah, Funky Bronco, I do not think I'm going to be doing a tremendous... I could do Maryland Chambers. That's about as close as you're going to get. Probably as close as we're going to get. Unless, of course, I could get Tracy Lords on the show. Tim said, pro wrestling will take a long time to cover. You know, you're right, Tim. Maybe that should be on Thursday, because I don't think anybody's going to sit for that on a Friday. Let me check something out here real quick. Whoops. You know what? I'm thinking pro wrestling tomorrow, and then on Friday, we do the fabulous, you know, whatchamacallit, the pro wrestling does not have the wealth of great photos I was hoping for. Oh, wait, now we're getting into it. Yeah, okay. Tomorrow is pro wrestling. Friday, we will do the attempted assassination of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt that actually resulted in the death of the mayor of Chicago, Anton Cermak. So, man, I've got some luchador photos here that you guys are going to just love. Absolutely love. So, yeah, what do you think? Have you considered black mold? Terry, you are cracking me up. Have you considered shoelaces? Have you thought about eyebrow pencils? Oh, dear. I'll switch it. I vote switch it. Pepe could not be more excited. I don't know what that means, but I'm in favor of it. All right, I'm going to close the phone lines down now. I'd like to thank our caller from earlier. Our one caller. I appreciate that. Actually, Tim Jenkinson, we've already done tweezers, sadly. That's Mos Def. What's up? And I can get out of this get up here. And I actually have a gigantic, important meeting tomorrow. But I'll find time to get the stuff together on pro wrestling. Man, thank you guys for being here for Ruta Lee. Just an incredible lady. And still sharp as a tack, gorgeous as ever, at soon to be 90 years of age. I am on class. I'm going to be walking 3 feet off the ground for the rest of the evening. Good luck with the meeting. Thank you. Victor's going on about his staying at a hotel or something. I don't know. Maybe he's staying at the Bates Motel. Me? Think? I have yet to. Doc, you think all the time. You're funny. Terry Nee says it was great. Great interview tonight. Tim Jenkinson says she seems like a really good person. I think she would have been better president than Trump. Well, one of the questions I had that I didn't want to ask her because she's very busy, and even these days she's very busy. Was on the heels of the question I asked her about Nikita Khrushchev and freeing her grandmother. I was going to ask her if you could talk to any world leader today, who would it be and what would you say to them? But I was mindful of the clock, and wow, what a just what a fabulous, fabulous person. It is not always a great idea to meet your idols. In this case, I'd seen other interviews, obviously, so I had a little bit of background, and Ed Robertson had recommended her highly. So with that in mind, I was just... And by the way, I did watch a ton of Ruta Lee over the last couple of days. I'm telling you what. I am telling you what. She is just so good in everything. And I watched her I found the Superman episode that she was in, played a teenager. I found one of the Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I watched her I have the box set from the earliest episodes of Dragnet, the black and white ones. And so she was on that. And I watched her on Highway Patrol. I watched her on an episode of Maverick. I watched her on Man with a Camera, because I have the entire series of that on DVD. I watched her on one episode of Gunsmoke. I watched her on an episode of 77 Sunset Strip. I watched her on Bat Masterson. I watched her on Whirly Birds. Whirly Birds is available on YouTube. I mentioned that episode of Bonanza that she was on. I mentioned the episode of The Fugitive. Let's see. Oh, I watched her on Laramie. Oh, boy, was she good on Laramie. Oh, boy, was she good on Laramie. I watched her on Cheyenne because I have the box set of Cheyenne. She was on an episode of the Andy Griffith Show. I also watched her on the episode of Gomer Pyle called Gomer Dates a Movie Star. That's on YouTube for those of you who would like to watch it for free. I watched her on an episode of Wild Wild West where she was stealing an elephant, which was interesting. I watched her on Mannix. Oh, I forgot to ask her about the episode of High Rollers where the big giant piece of set hit her in the head. Mod Squad, saw her on Mod Squad. Anyway, I watched her on a ton of stuff. A ton of stuff. So there we are. The great Ruta Lee. So let me see here. Washer fluid seems interesting. Yes, I'll do a show on saline solution. Let me tell you about MTV. That's another entertainment one. I mean, if you guys want this to all just be super pop culture entertainment, I'll go there. I really will go there. And then maybe just occasionally, maybe just on like Fridays, I do one of these weird things that I like that nobody else likes. Maybe that's the way it should go. What do you think? Should that be the way it goes? This was a great show tonight, says Doc. Ruta reminds me of my mother's friends. She reminds me of my mom a little bit. Tom's going to have a total fangirl moment after the show. I really am. Stalker. No, I'm not a stalker. I'm not a stalker. Although I'd like to mention, the interview began with her asking me to marry her. How's a boy going to forget something like that? Let's see here. Pepe Sylvia says, did I just see you did a show with Bob Levy? I bet I did a bunch of shows with Bob Levy. Bob is an amazingly talented man. And I recommend that everyone watch his program. Yes, I did a lot of shows with Bob. Seems like a good plan. Plus, she blew you a kiss at the end. I know. She's legally blind? Yeah, no, she's not. I like that guy, says Pepe Sylvia. He's a great guy. Bob is a great guy. He is just a great guy. You'll never hear me say a bad word about Bob Levy. Never, ever, ever. So, my schedule at the moment is, I think, runs a little counter to when he's on the air. But, also, his entire audience hates my guts. That's probably another problem. Doc says, metal, that's what makes this show great. Metal Wade Vicky says, I love the variety on your show. Something for everybody. Tim Jenkinson says, Tom, are you a fan of Indy racing? Well, I put it to you this way, Tim Jenkinson. I was born on Memorial Day in Indianapolis, Indiana. That's when they run the Indy 500. And so racing's kind of in my blood. I probably have attended the race 30 times in person, and I have probably never missed a single. Well, that's not true. In the old days, the race was blacked out in Indiana. You couldn't watch it under any circumstances. So you would have to watch the replay. It wasn't live, it was replayed. But I don't miss it. I every year, I have some friends from Indiana here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we get together and we watch it and we turn it up in the backyard, when they do Back Home Again in Indiana. I didn't get into Jim Neighbors and the whole, because he used to sing Back Home Again in Indiana for 30 or 40 years. They don't know what they're missing out on. Terry Nee says they do, except me. Yes, Terry will echo the fact that a lot of people there that don't really have anything better to do have a problem with me because I pointed out very true things about them. Yeah. Tom, how about actors who had amazing war backgrounds? Don Adams, Frank Sutton, Ted Knight, just a few that come to mind. What about Captain Kangaroo? What about Lee Marvin? Yeah, there's a lot of them. As a matter of fact, you go through a certain era of these actors, and they almost all were in the service. What about Eddie Albert? He piloted a landing craft at Normandy. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And as you mentioned, Johnny Seattle, Sterling Hayden, Terry Nee says, and Bob. Yes, Bob appreciates me. Dupa says, not Bob's entire audience. Well, Dupa, I appreciate that. That is true. Ted Knight, yes. A lot of them were in like the USO. That's how they got their start in entertainment. Like Don Knotts got his start doing things in the USO. So Phil Silvers would be interesting. He would. Yeah, Eddie Alberts is an awesome story. But a lot of Bob's audience just doesn't care for me. And also, and this is nothing against Bob, it's my audience has actually increased quite a bit since I stopped appearing on anything. And I know Bob isn't Dabbleverse these days, but since I stopped being part of that sort of toxic, hey, let's see who we can, it's just being away from that is better for me and my show. Now, that being said, I would do just about anything for Bob Levy. I just have to consider if I appear on his show, it's going to be nothing but nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And also, most of those people I have to just kind of sit there and be good natured about it, because as the wolf will tell you, if I start responding, they don't like it at all. They really don't like that because they can't handle it. Terry Nee says fog would be interesting. Yes, I'm going to do a show on the heartbreak of psoriasis. See, mentioning Captain Kangaroo made me think of Wonderama. Wonderama. Well, Jeepers Creepers, kids. I wonder what Ruta Lee thought of the opening of my show. You know, God, what a pro. What a pro. You know? Can I tell you guys a little back behind the stage? And by the way, I started the show early because she got here early. And I said, wow, you're here so early. We can wait until top of the hour, or we can go right now, whatever you want. And she said, well, the sooner the better. And so that's why we started early. And I called her Miss Lee, and she says, Miss Lee doesn't exist. It's Ruta. You know, so loved Romper Room. What's for dinner tonight, Tom? Tonight, Tom will be making a Totino's party pizza, and I don't have maybe some cottage cheese along with it. And then probably a whole bunch of Dots pretzels. I am absolutely starving. Is it time for barbecue? It's always time for barbecue. I really got to tell you that this whole day has been spent with me watching Ruta Lee stuff in the morning while I was working. I had some meetings. Then after the meeting, while I was working, I started sort of writing the introduction and putting together the questions. And so this whole day has, and then I had to, you know, do a little of this before the show started. And so, yeah, I haven't eaten anything all day. Terry Nee says she's a true star. She really is. Man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. This does look, man. I have interviewed, other than I can count on one hand the people, and I have interviewed thousands of people. Okay, thousands. Some local, some national, some international. I have interviewed presidential candidates that later became president. I've interviewed U.S. senators. I've interviewed governors. I've interviewed very famous actors and actresses. I've interviewed sports stars like Heisman Trophy winners, NFL MVPs, baseball MVP. I mean, all you can't imagine. Jan van Beveren, my idol when I was a young goalkeeper, I got not only to interview him, but he and I became like phone buddies. He would call me and late at night, or just we'd have these weird, like out of nowhere chats. I better take this banner down. These weird chats. And then Kip Adada also became a very close personal friend. And you've heard some of the chats I have with him. Ruta Lee is on that list. I can't think of anybody else. I did get to interview Shaka Hislop, which was pretty cool. Which was pretty darn cool. Oh, Pat Summerall. There's 5. Maybe Howard Cosell. Maybe. I don't know that he's on that list. But there's not many. There's not many. And, yeah. So, let's see here. It's good to see you ending a show on a high. Well, thank you. Floss is interesting. Terry Nee. I love you, man. I really do. Melmaid Vicky says 5 stars. Doc says, well, looking at that old clock on the wall. Yeah, see, I gotta end the show so I can rewatch it. And as you know, I never rewatch my shows. Never. Terry Nee says Ruta is a living treasure. We're still waiting for the Tom Gulley book. Well, I'm writing one. It's called Adventures in Advertising. And it outlines all of the crazy crud that happened to me in my advertising career. And it's, so. All right, kids. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being so cool and so wonderful to Ruta Lee. I expected nothing less. Thank you to our one caller for demonstrating what, maybe a lack of consistent supply of oxygen to the brain can do to a person over a long period of time. And, that's sure to be a bestseller. A beat seller, bestseller, something. Just maybe so. Terry Nee is applauding. Peace. Terry Nee, you're cracking me up. I'm just waiting for Terry Nee to go. Well, no, can't do that one. I was about to come up with a really abusive, barbed, insulting topic. And then I realized I've actually done that topic. That caller hasn't been using his CPAP. Yeah, I'm waiting for Terry Nee to go 3x5 cards. Now there's a topic. All right. That old clock on the wall says, like the Reverend Al Green, I got to get on up out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, I think the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time.
We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we're talking about? We're talking about